Welcome back to the show, Namibia. Now, as promised earlier, Cuba has launched, that is a program to celebrate the centennial of Fidel Castro's birth. And this year, you know, there's a long program that will culminate in a celebration of what would have had been Castro's 100th birthday on the 13th of August 2026. Now, in Namibia, the program is also in full swing. Now, we have invited here this morning, that is Cuba's ambassador to Namibia, that's Sergio Vigoa de la Uz, to talk to us about the events that will unfold right here in Namibia. A very good morning, Ambassador. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you to invite us. For inviting us to have this speech with you and the Namibian.
There's a lot to talk about here this morning, and I mean, we have now established that this launch, all right, for the centennial has already happened, and we really want to know if you can possibly speak to us about the program that was launched in Cuba, and also how it will now be celebrated, you know, over various countries, in particular also Namibia.
Well, this next month will be very special for Cubans. Not only Cubans, but also all over the world. The program was launched, as you said, 13th of August. It was the 99th anniversary of the birth of our Commander-in-Chief. But this program, commemorative program, will be held worldwide from last August to November 2026. It will be, it has the main objective is to preserve the ideals, the legacy of our Commander-in-Chief, not only in Cuba, but also all over the world, for the present and the future generations, and to discuss about the legacy of the thought of our Commander-in-Chief in the fighting for a better world. That's why for us it's very important to have a possibility to have this program here in Namibia, but also to talk about the very important role that played Commander-in-Chief in the fighting for against the colonialism, against the racism, against the apartheid, and how it's related, especially with Africa and Namibia, of course.
Mm-hmm. So what we also understand is some of the activities will actually, you know, go back and date back as far as to, you know, his childhood, you know, going to him becoming the architect, you know, of Cuba's revolution, as you've just now said, you know, Ambassador. What other highlights will also be brought out during this, you know, year-long program?
Well, yes, of course. The main objective of the program is to review the life, the entire life of our Commander-in-Chief, but special highlights will be during this program, especially on the 13th of August, of course, next year. That will be the centennial of her birth. Also, November 2026, that will be the 10th anniversary of the physical departure of a Commander-in-Chief. It's a very nice coincidence, because he passed on the 90. It was 90 years old. 90 years old. But also, we would like to have a mobilization of international people from the goodwill that have identified with the thought of our Commander-in-Chief, especially political solidarity groups, Cubans living abroad, that can identify with this thought of our Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro. But also, at the same time, it's a very important target that we have to try to keep this celebration for the young people, for the young generation, is very important. Yeah. And for us as Cubans living in Namibia right now, it's very important to have the possibility to relate it with the young people, with the thought of San Uyoma, the thought of Fidel Castro, and how they was joined by the history.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy you're mentioning that, Ambassador, as there are a bunch of youth listening to us right now. And I want to go back to 1998. This is another significant month, September, as it was the first time that Fidel Castro set foot in Namibia, you know, and if possible, if you can just take us back, maybe just explain also what that moment would have had meant for the first time back then.
Yes, indeed. Well, the relationship between Fidel Castro and Africa especially this continent. And of course, Namibia was very important. Fidel Castro was the one who taught us how important relation we have with the African continent. Remember that during the struggle for the independence of Namibia, hundreds of thousands of Cubans came to Africa to fight against apartheid regime. And he taught us that this presence of those Cubans here in Africa was owning a debt, a moral debt that we have with the African continent. Because the Africans were the ones who joined the army, the Liberation Army, fighting against the colonialism of Spain. And then they joined the rebel army, fighting against the government that was under the direction of the United States. Then there was a very important thought of Fidel that gave us the possibility to understand what the Cubans were doing here in Africa, and especially for Namibia. Indeed, the 1st of September of 1998 marked a very important a pillar in the relationship between Cuba and Namibia, because it was the first time that Commander-in-Chief was and the only time that Fidel Castro was in Namibia. And he was welcomed in the steps of the plane by the founder father, San Nujoma. And I saw some news about that, and I remember that he said, "Welcome to the land you help us to liberate from the apartheid regime." But it was a short time, but he had the opportunity to, of course, to be in the land where the Cuban blood watered the freedom of Namibia, as the national anthem said, and also have the opportunity to talk with many Namibians that already studied in Cuba and come back to be involved in the social development of Namibia at that time.
You know, Ambassador, we have now established the very unique relationship between Namibia and Cuba, you know, that was actually forged during the liberation struggle. But if we look at today, how is the relationship being strengthened today, you know, beyond this symbolic connection?
Well, today, fortunately, there's the ties are very close between the two nations. It's important that Cuba still has been collaborating with Namibians, not only sending Namibians to study in Cuba and to prepare themselves in Cuba as a professionals, but also sending here specialists from the health sector, from the construction sector, agriculture, and many other sectors that we have Cubans working here, collaborating with the development of Namibian society. Also, it's very important the role that have been playing in Namibia in the international sphere, regional and international organizations, asking for the lifting of the blockade against the U.S. blockade against Cuba, and also to removal Cuba from the list of states sponsor of terrorism. And the role played by Namibia is very important. This role is very important. It's very important for Cubans. We really appreciate that during the last 30 years, 35 years, the relationship have been very, very, very close. This year we are just celebrating also the 35th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between both countries, and those have been a very important task on this relationship.
Fantastic, Ambassador. Now, just how would you say, you know, Fidel Castro's vision continues to shape, you know, the Cuban society today, all over the world, you know, and again, especially for the young people watching today?
Yes, for young people, it's very important to review the legacy of Fidel Castro, not only for the development of a Cuban society that has been very important, because he was the main construction of the Cuban society nowadays. Yeah. He was the first one who thought about the importance of education, the importance of health for a society. As you must know, Cuba is not very important in material resources, but our important goal is the human resources that we have been preparing during the more than 60 years of revolution. That is very important. He's the main important thought of Fidel. Fidel told us, don't see, just read and think about what you can do or what you must do for this society. Was an important task in the thought of Fidel Castro for the Cuban Revolution, for the new generation. This is a challenge we have to show the new generation in Cuba and Namibia how there was the relationship between the two countries.
The Cuban embassy ambassador is also planning, as we said, its own activities here in Namibia, and we're really looking forward. Can you please just, if you can, give us some context and elaborate for us on some of these activities that will be taking place?
Yes, all the embassies of Cuba all over the world is going to have some program in their countries. As in Namibia, we have planned a very big plan during those months. Next month that we are going to have. We have maybe 3 or 4 activities, I think, since August. But I think that this plan, the main participant of this plan will be, of course, the collaborators that are working here in Namibia, because it's the image of a relationship between Cuba and Namibia. But one important role that is going to be played by the thousands of Namibians that studied in Cuba. And we will have many activities with the participation of the Namibia and Cuba Friendship Association, and also with some associations, some organizations that have their own, I mean, the Namibian that studied in Cuba since 1978. That was the first time that Namibians arrived to Cuba after the Casinga massacre. But those Namibians will play a very important role in those activities we are going to have. In the next days, next weekend, there will be a big celebration in Otapi, where many Namibians that studied in Cuba is going to join to have a meeting to talk about the way they see Commander-in-Chief, because most of them have contact directly with Fidel Castro during the stay in Cuba, because Fidel usually go to their school to talk to them, to talk about the relevant, the importance of being studied and come back to Namibia to work for the development of Namibia. But we will have some contest of drawing contest, especially for kids. Okay. And as you must know, there is a primary school that named Fidel Castro, and we're going to have this contest there in this school mainly, not only for them. And we will have activities related with a photo exposition that we are going to have. We are thinking of having on the end of January, coinciding with the anniversary of the birth of our national hero Jose Marti. That will be 28th of January. Okay. And we will have this photo exposition for the public of Namibia, just to see the relationship, especially of Fidel with Africa and also with Namibia. And a lot of activities we are going to have, but concentrate mainly on August, November. We are thinking of having some lecture at the university, talking about the legacy of Fidel Castro, of course, in the young generation also. And so on. There will be a lot of activities. I'm sure that will be the participation of Namibian citizenship will be very important. The authority of Namibia will be very important also.
Certainly, quite a fully fledged program, and we have a whole year anyway. So, Ambassador, any parting remarks here this morning?
Yes, well, for me it's a privilege, it's an honor to be here in Namibia as diplomatic, as Cuban, in these special dates that we have in this program, because we know how loved Fidel is here. He loved here in Namibia, especially because of the role he played, joined with Sam Nujoma in the preparation in the present days after the independence and the future, preparing the human resources of Namibia, and for us it's really a privilege. And also I would like to remark the importance of the friendship, the brothership between Sam Nujoma and Fidel Castro, and that was the important for the very historical bonds and ties that we have between the two countries, and how it can be in the future also for the new generations.
Yeah, well, certainly. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you for inviting us.
All right.